4580, State of Texas versus Rodolfo Aceves. Aceves. Could I have parties announced for the record for the state?
Miranda Carrillo for the state of Texas.
And Johnny Cisneros for Mr. Aceves.
Are you Mr. Aceves?
Sí, mi jurado. Sí, mi jurado.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, we have an interpreter here. All right, we are here for sentencing. The defendant entered a plea of no contest to count 1 and count 2. The court found there was sufficient evidence to find him guilty. According to the plea bargain agreement, punishment is to be assessed at a cap of 10 years in the prison. There's $1,000 fine, and the state opposes the defendant's applications. All right, state, do you have any witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor. First, I do have states exhibits 1 and 2, which are just images that I'd like to provide. The defense has seen them.
Any objections?
No objections, Your Honor.
All right, states exhibits 1 and 2 are admitted into evidence.
Your Honor. And at this time, the state would call Matt Porter.
All right, Matt Porter, you solemnly swear affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, ma'am.
All right, you can lower your hand, state your name for the record.
Matthew Porter.
All right, state.
Thank you, Judge. Mr. Porter, could you introduce yourself to the judge, who you are and what you do?
I'm a sergeant with the San Antonio Police Department, currently working at Fusion Center. I've been assigned there for 2 years and I've been on the department for 22 years. So it's essentially a real-time watch center. We watch out for any threats of mass targeted violence, any threats to citizens. Once we're made aware of these threats, we begin to work them and support follow-up units.
How did you come to be involved in Rodolfo Aceves?
This threat was
Okay, listen to her. Yes, all right.
the threat was brought to our team and we began working with homicide on this case.
And why was it brought to you?
There was
Why was it a case that was flagged for you?
It was a threat of mass targeted violence. So there was people that reported it to police that were concerned for their well-being and the well-being of others.
And what did you look at when it was brought to you? What, were there any flags or anything that made you research further?
So once we received the threat, we started looking into it. And there were behavioral indicators by the defendant that caused a lot of alarm. And as we began to dig deeper, we saw indicators that, hey, he is on the pathway to violence, and that it's more than like mere preparation. There was the purchase of firearms, the practicing on using these firearms. So when our team started looking at this, it was very concerning.
When you say leakage to coworkers, what do you mean by that?
There was an incident at his place of employment where I believe a fire alarm went off, and he made a comment to a fellow coworker that this would be a good time to conduct a mass shooting.
I have no more questions.
Depends.
How many people reported this to Amazon?
I would have to go back and look. I don't have that in front of me.
Well, you've been involved a lot in the last year and a half. You just testified that you've been really looking into him. And the first question I have, you don't have an answer for? Okay, but that's okay. So did you speak to Mr. Nate Fisher, who was a supervisor at the time?
I did not.
Did you speak to the person that he allegedly told that he was going to shoot Amazon?
I did not.
Did you talk to any other witnesses?
I did not.
How many times have you spoken to the family members?
I have not spoken to the family.
How many times have you spoken to my client?
I have not spoken to your client.
What kind of investigation did you do?
I didn't do the investigation. I'm the supervisor over the investigators. So they went out.
So
and
what
did-
you're telling, excuse me for interrupting.
No, go ahead, sir.
So what you're telling me is all hearsay.
Based on my detective's reports, yes.
Okay, and do you have any reports with you that I can review?
I do not.
You said that, well, when did he purchase his rifle? Did he already have it, or did he purchase it after he made that comment?
I don't have those details.
So do you know if he purchased a weapon so he could go kill people, or if you would just purchase it and just be target shooter just to have it?
I can't answer that question.
I don't have any more questions, guys.
Just brief redirect, Your Honor. Just to clarify, you were not involved in the investigation of this case, correct?
Correct.
You work for the fusion unit, which monitors these sorts of potential threats after the fact. Is that
Yeah,
correct?
we manage threats of mass targeted attacks.
No more questions.
I have another question or two. Do you know that Mr. Aceves has been on full house arrest for, oh, let me see, 12, almost 15, 16 months?
Yes, sir.
And how many violations has he had?
None to my knowledge.
And that is correct, just so you'll know. That's the first question I had that you had a good answer for. So knowing that he's had no violations at all in almost 16, 17 months, doesn't that give you a different perspective of Mr. Aceves?
Well, you can look at it two ways, that the mitigation we put in place worked and that we got him off that pathway to violence, or you have to look at it as, is he just behaving to get through this?
Okay, no more questions.
All right, any other questions? All right, counsel, is there some documentation that you wanted from this witness that you have not received?
No, ma'am, I'm just wondering why he's here. I mean, he talks about how bad my client is, and yet when I ask him any question, he doesn't know anything about it.
All right, so there's no documentation that he has that you have not received
Not
that
to
you would
my-
like?
Excuse me. for
No.
interrupting. Not to my knowledge, Your Honor.
All right, did you want to ask him about any documentation he has?
Do you have any documentation that
Just my detective's reports.
and have you turned those over to the district attorney's office?
I believe they've been turned over.
Okay.
with the case.
They could be part of my discovery, Your Honor, but that I've seen in discovery, there's nothing that alarming to me.
All right, do you know if he's received his report?
Yes, it should all be uploaded in e-discovery.
All right, thank you so much for
you.
coming down.
Thank you.
All right, state, call your next witness.
State has no more witnesses.
All right, defense, do you have any witnesses?
Yes, I have Mr. Rodolfo Aceves Senior, Your Honor.
All right, if you'll call him to come forward. All right, could you raise your right hand for me? Do you solemnly swear or affirm that the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Mr. Perez, what is your relationship to Rodolfo Aceves?
Es mi hijo.
He's my son.
And has he ever been in trouble before?
Nunca,
Never,
He's never been arrested for any misdemeanors?
nunca,
never,
Has he ever been arrested for any felonies?
nunca.
never.
Has he ever been in a fight in school?
No que yo sé.
Not that I know of.
Has he ever been in a fight in the neighborhood?
Tampoco.
Not that either.
Has he threatened you or any of your family members?
No, a nadie.
No, nobody.
Do you think that your son would be a good candidate to successfully complete a probationary period should the court give him deferred adjudication, which is another term for probation?
100%.
100%.
I pass away, Your Honor.
Mr. Aceves, hi, my name is Miranda. I'm one of the assistant district attorneys. I just have a few questions for you. Were you aware that your son had firearms in his room at your residence?
Sí, sabe.
Yes, I did know.
Do you know when he purchased those firearms?
Ah, cuando cumplió 18 que la podía comprar legalmente.
When he turned 18 and he could purchase them legally.
Was that close to the time that this incident happened?
No, fue mucho antes.
No, it was way before.
Or would you say way before that be months or years?
No estoy muy seguro, no años.
I'm not too sure, but not years.
When this incident occurred, he was around 18 years old still, correct?
como 19.
like 19, I believe.
You mentioned that your son likes to joke a lot. What did you think about the statement that he made to his coworkers?
Que fue una broma.
That it was a joke.
Did you find it to be a joke?
No.
I have no more questions. Your Honor.
I have a question if there are no objections.
No objection.
How far did your son go in school?
Mm,
I'm
La
reading the
más.
report that says ninth grade.
Sí, yo creo que sí.
Yes, I believe so.
Su mamá es la que más se dedica con.
The mom is the one who's more in charge of that.
All right, why didn't he finish school?
Quería trabajar, quería.
He wanted to work, he wanted to.
So you allowed him not to be in school at ninth grade?
Le sugerimos que se quedara en la escuela.
We suggested to him to
Todos.
stay in school.
Todos están nuestros hijos en la escuela.
All our children are in school.
Except for him?
Sí, excepto él, que porque quería trabajar.
Yes, except him because he wanted to work.
All right, I have no further questions.
No more questions. Your Honor.
No more questions. Your Honor.
All right, thank you. Can you raise your defense? Can you call your next witness?
Miss Mercedes Aceves, Your Honor.
What's the first name?
Mercedes,
All right,
Mercedes.
thank you. Could you raise your right hand for me? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I swear.
All right, you can lower your hand. Defense?
Miss Aceves, what is your relationship to Rodolfo Aceves Jr.?
Tu madre, soy madre de Rodolfo.
I am Rodolfo's mother.
Tell me a little bit, and tell the court, please, a little bit about your son, so the judge can understand what kind of a young man she's looking at. And instead of my asking you questions, just give the short versions of your son's life, and it'll go a little bit faster now.
Sí, yo puedo mencionar que él siempre ha sido respetuoso
I can mention that he has always been respectful
con su padre, su madre, sus hermanos.
towards his father, his mother, his siblings.
En su escuela nunca tuve queja de que respetara a algún maestro o algún alumno.
When he was in school, I never had a complaint that he disrespected a teacher or a student.
Es muy buen hijo conmigo, siempre me ayuda.
He's a very good son to me. He always helps me out.
No more questions, Your Honor.
All right, I just have a couple of questions,
Yes,
if
ma'am.
there's no
No
objection.
objections.
All right. Why did you allow your son to drop out of high school?
Yo permití que saliera de la escuela porque estaba planeando hacer el examen para tener su diploma más rápido.
I allowed him to drop out of school because he was planning to take the test to get his diploma quicker.
All right, now are you aware he never did that?
Sí, estaba, sí lo sé, estaba.
Yes, I know.
Ujú. Él entró a trabajar y dijo que al mismo tiempo lo iba a estar haciendo, pero
He
pasó
started-
el problema.
He started working and he said he would be doing it at the same time, but then the problem happened.
All right. And do you have any weapons in your home now?
No.
No.
All right, any other questions?
No.
No.
All right, thank you.
Gracias.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other witnesses?
No, ma'am.
Any witnesses?
Just argument. Your Honor.
Before we get to the
Mhm.
argument part, I can tell you both, this is a very difficult case for me because he's young. I see that there's some mental health issues, but I also have some concerns about the safety of the public. So what I would like, if it is possible, for the state or somebody the witness in the police report, as always, we read the person that he said this to. Is it possible to have them available in person or by Zoom by the 21st?
I can look into that. Your Honor.
Yes, ma'am.
So I'm going to recall this case for September 21st. Yes, and then they may call you to try to get it sooner. All right, so this hearing began on September 14th. And before the court made its decision, I wanted to hear from a witness. And my understanding that witness is present, is that correct?
That's correct, Your Honor.
All right, if someone would call the witness in.
The state will call Ana Flores.
All right. All right. Could you raise your right hand for me, please? Do you solemnly swear or affirm the testimony you give will be the truth and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I swear.
Morning, Ms. Flores. You've introduced yourself to the judge. Can you tell her how you know Mr. Rodolfo Aceves?
We work together
Where did you work?
En Amazon.
in Amazon.
Yes, who was your supervisor when you worked at Amazon?
El padre de Rodolfo.
Rodolfo's father.
So during these 4 to 6 months, did you get to know Rodolfo and his father fairly well?
Yes,
And did Rodolfo ever do anything or say anything to you that was concerning or upsetting to you during the times you worked together?
yes.
Can you tell the court an example of one of those times?
Como le gustaban las armas.
He liked weapons.
Cuando hicieron hicieron un simulacro, él dijo como, mira, es buena idea hacer por la matanza.
When they did like a drill or simulation, he said it's a good idea to do the shooting.
Or when you say a drill or a simulation, were you referring to a fire alarm?
Una falla.
Yes, fire alarm.
When he made that statement to you, how did you feel?
Primero lo tomé como tonto.
At first, I thought it was silly,
Comenté con otra compañera
and I talked to another coworker, and
no es normal.
it's not normal.
Was there a time when you dropped off your child at school and he was with you?
Yes.
Did he say anything concerning you that time?
Bromeó diciendo que ya ahora sé a dónde voy a venir.
He joked saying, now I know where I'm gonna come.
Did he say what he meant when he said that?
Pues dijo como, oh, ya sé dónde voy a hacer la matanza, y nada más le dije, cállate, no hables tonterías.
And he said, now I know where I'm gonna do the shooting, and I told him, shut up, don't say stupid stuff.
Any further questions?
No further questions.
All right, I just have one question. So you mentioned under questioning that some things had happened to you. Do you believe that Mr. Aceves is responsible in any way?
No sé.
I don't know.
All right, thank you so much for coming down.
I'm not gonna ask her any questions. I want you to speak to her on it. Tell her what you feel. We've discussed this. I didn't tell you what to say. Have I told you what to say? I've just told you to
No.
speak from your heart. Tell her what you feel, what you want her to know about you, please.
Mi jurado, en verdad yo pedí disculpas por todo lo que dije y especialmente a los familiares de ella.
Your Honor, I really want to apologize for everything I said,
especialmente a Ana Flores y sus familias. Ven aquí a ponerse en terror y miedo.
especially Ana Flores and her family. I never meant to terrorize them or put them in fears.
Yo Sonte me estaba simplemente moviendo y Sonte estaba, quería mirar su reacción de cómo reaccionaba y
I was just joking and I just wanted to see how they reacted.
nunca quería cometer ni un masacre ni nada de eso.
I never wanted to commit a massacre or anything like that.
Fue muy estúpido
I was very
diciendo
stupid
eso. Y
by saying
me siento
that,
muy arrepentido por todo.
and I really regret everything.
Do you have any questions?
I do, Your Honor. Mr. Ross, as you heard Ana Flores mention a event in which you went to for child school with her. Do you remember that?
Sí, fiscal.
Yes, the eighth.
And do you remember telling her that you knew which school to shoot up now after seeing that?
Your
school?
Honor, I don't believe Ms. Flores said that he knew what school. I believe she testified that he knew where to go. I think that's how she mentioned it.
All right, I remember all of the testimony.
Right,
My mind's a steel trap.
okay.
So, thank you.
Sonte fue una vez, pero no recuerdo la dirección ni el nombre de la escuela.
I only went once and I don't remember the address or the school number.
But do you remember making that statement to her?
Sí,
Yes,
Do you remember in this case being interviewed by the police after this incident?
sí.
yes,
And do you recall discussing having researched prior mass shootings?
Es muy complicado. Es porque en YouTube siempre hay recomendación de noticias porque
it's very complicated because on YouTube, you always get a recommended news feed
en las noticias, en los canales de noticias.
on the news channel.
Y siempre hay school shooting, massacres y eso, y por morbo, por siempre morbo.
And there's always mass shooting massacres and you have like a morbid curiosity.
Es algo que los miro, pero
And I look at them.
nunca estaba simulando si yo lo haría eso.
But I was never simulating that I would do that.
Pero fue algo como en el momento que intentaba explicar si ellos miraban que por qué estaban mirando.
It was a spur of the moment thing. I was trying to explain if they saw something like that.
Explicar que era solamente por curiosidad
And explain that it was just out of curiosity
y no para planear nada.
and not to plan anything.
And do you recall telling your coworkers that the Uvalde shooter was a hero?
Sí, pero solamente era por una reacción de Ana Flores.
But no, but that was just a reaction from Ana Flores.
Era una broma.
It was a joke.
No es mi héroe ni nada de eso.
He's not my hero or anything like that.
So a lot of people will say sometimes, oh, I've said before, you know how you say, I could just kill that person? And honestly, I don't know anybody who's ever said that about somebody else. So what were you thinking and why would you think this would be a joke?
No quería como hacerle que sí le voy a comentar era
I didn't want to make that comment. It was
solamente decirlo para una reacción así.
just to say it for a reaction.
Okay. All right, so I will listen to your arguments, but this is what I want to tell both of you when you give me your argument. So my job as a judge is not like the Minority Report with Tom Cruise. I can't see into the future. I don't know what's going to happen. I know state you're asking for 10 years prison for a 20-year-old for threats. And I've seen cases where people have made threats against a single person and people offer them deferred or people offer them probation. And I know that's not you, but I've seen that happen. In this case, state, you're going to be asking me to send a 20-year-old to prison for something that I'm assuming you're doing it because you think, one, that he could end up committing this. But what I see is a 20-year-old, and if I send him to prison, and let's say I send him to prison for 5 years or 10 years, and he does all his time at the prison. So let's say he goes in at the age of 20, he's there for 10 years, he gets out when he's 30, they offer him parole, he says, no, I don't want parole. And so he gets out of prison at 30 years old, and he has no supervision, and he can do whatever he wants to do. Then we're right back here. I personally don't think that solves the problem that we have before me. And I will tell both of you, I've read all the stipulations, I've read everything. And based upon what I'm reading and the fact that he has no criminal history, 10 years is too much time for what he's charged with and for what he potentially was saying he was going to do, but didn't do. And maybe he was going to do it, but he was stopped before doing it. I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. What I am thinking of doing is granting his application, keeping him on deferred for 10 years. He will go into custody today because you're going to go to state ISF cognitive if that's available. If it's not available, we're going to see about some type of, I don't know, mental conditioning or something. I would order that he not to have any possession of weapons. He would still remain on GPS. GPS would be full house arrest, then slowly, maybe he can get a job, then slowly lower down the conditions on that. I would have where he's not to appear or not to reside within a certain place of schools, that he would not be allowed to work or go to Amazon. That's what I'm thinking. And if there's a reason why I should not be thinking that, or someone has something potentially to change my mind about that, I'm more than welcome to hear the argument. But either way, he would be going into custody today.
Your Honor, you're much brighter than I am.
Oh, no.
And I appreciate and I respect your decision, and I think that's a good thing for him. I don't think he needs it, but if the court needs it, then I'm okay with it. I've gotten to know this young man over the last 16 months. And I'm gonna get emotional because I've gotten to like him because he really is, thank you. He really is a good young man. He really said something stupid. And it's not too often in my 35 years of being a lawyer that I get emotionally involved in a case. They tell you not to. But when you really believe in someone, when you really believe that they were acting stupid, for this to happen to them, it's like, what did you do to your life, son? And that's how I feel about him. I would have liked to have seen him just walk out with me. I know in my heart that you will never see him again, but I respect your decision and I'm okay with it.
All right. Well, the court's concern is obviously for somebody to even jokingly say this, there's something mental going on. And if I had a program that was a free program that was available where he goes into a mental facility and they work, they educate, I would send him there, but I don't have that. If somebody has that and they have where it's private or it's free or somebody's willing to pay for it for him, I would reconsider doing that instead of ISF. But I think right now, because part of my job is also to protect the public. And if I had a crystal ball, it would be great because I could say, this is what he's going to do in 3 years. Or if I had a crystal ball and I would say, send a 20-year-old to prison. And we all know prison life, even Bexar County jail life, is not the best life. He's young, he's thin. We already know what's going to happen at prison, potentially, because everybody can't watch people 24/7.
Right.
And I am wondering, sending him to prison for 10 years, what is that going to do to his psyche? And how is he going to come back out of prison into society? And are we going to have an even bigger problem? So I'm trying to put some safeguards in place and then state if he violates GPS in any way that I'm going to give him, if he doesn't report the way he's supposed to, then the full 10 years is there. I will put in place that there, wherever he lives, if he's living with his parents, there are to be no weapons in the home. And I'm going to put in place sort of similar to sex offender registration, even though this is not a sex case, that he has to give probation, all the computer access, phone access, any electronic access, so that they can be aware of what he's looking at and what is happening. I just think in this case, 10 years prison for a 20-year-old, and I realize what could have happened, what may have happened. So that's where I am. And the reason, and I struggle with this case, and I thought about this case from when you all were first here till now about what potentially would be the right decision in this case. And it's a very difficult case. And I know it's a difficult case for the state. And state, I do know why you're asking for the 10 years, because something catastrophic could have happened. So I do understand.
I understand your decision, Your Honor, and I do respect that, and I do agree that some sort of inpatient time, if we're not going to send him straight to prison, is appropriate. I'm thinking back to what Mr. Porter had testified last week, that it remains to be seen whether this is someone who's done well on bond because
Yes.
they fixed the problem, or if they're doing well on bond because, as Mr. Osbus had testified, I've been cautious so you won't think I've done something. So I think that we do need as many safeguards as possible if we aren't doing prison, and short of that, to ensure that.
Well, my thing is we're going to do things incrementally, and we will have settings for this to come back to court. Once he's released from inpatient, we can have settings to come back every 60 days, and we can discuss where we are, how he's doing, and do it that way.
One more thing, I keep saying one more thing.
Yes.
I love coming to this court, Your Honor, because you not only think of the public, but you also think of the welfare of the people that are before you. And that's just something that you've earned the respect of all of us in Bexar County and anybody else that may know you, that you're just a wonderful lady.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. All right, so I'm going to give these conditions and state if there are any other conditions you think would be helpful, just let me know. So we're going to do 10 years deferred adjudication. There is to be state ISF cognitive, and he's to be taken into custody today for that. Once he's released from state IS cognitive, we will set this, Vashawn, once he's released from state ISF, before he's released from the Bexar County jail, let's have him brought over. Is that possible? Okay, well, let's do this. Once he's released from state ISF, we'll just set it for a hearing in here, and we'll call it a compliance hearing.
Yes, ma'am.
So once he's released, we'll do a compliance hearing to maybe fine tune any conditions that we need to fine tune. So I'm going to say full GPS. We'll waive fees
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. I was gonna ask.
or defer fees. And then, Mr. Aceves, once you've completed the state ISF, or if there's a, inpatient treatment through private means, once you completed that, we're going to come back and then we can address the full GPS. But my understanding from working in different treatment courts, you can't go from rigid to all of a sudden you're free. It's sort of like when you have children and you have them on this rigid schedule, then maybe you send them off to college and no supervision. So we'll do full GPS. There's to be no weapons possessed. And there's to be no weapons wherever you're living. So if you're living with your parents, there's to be no weapons in the residence. You understand? And to the Mr. Cisneros, if you could let his parents know, if there are weapons in the home, he cannot stay there.
Yes, ma'am. And Your Honor, he was saying that he owes like $3,000 or something in the GPS fees. Is there a way we can waive those?
We'll deal with that when we come back.
Okay, thank you.
All right, there is to be all electronic, I'll say just items. So that means computers, cell phones, sort of like if he were on sex offender registration. He's to make sure that you all have all the information to look into those computers. So you're going to have to register all electronic items, and that's going to include the items that your parents have in the home. So if they have cell phones, iPhones, all of that has to be registered. You understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
And all computers in the home must be registered. There's to be no contact with Ana Flores or any workers from his Amazon location, because I know people will order off Amazon. So none of the workers from his Amazon location. There's going to be regular reporting. That can be by Zoom or in person. I'm going to want random field visits, one time per month until further notice. And Vashon, if you'll let probation know when we have the compliance hearing, if that's going well, we can reconsider. There's to be regular UAs. And we will deal with proof of employment. Vashon, I'm not even going to put employment in right now because there's no way for him to get the employment. We'll put that in once we have our compliance hearings. Mr. Aceves, I keep mispronouncing your name. I'm sorry. Is there anything else you need from the court to be successful?
No, I will obey all the conditions.
All right, State, do you think there's anything else he needs at this time?
No, Your Honor, but Miss Ana Flores did mention to me this morning that she would like the no contact order to extend to her family.
Yes.
Based on the concerns that she mentioned earlier.
All right, and there's to be no contact with Ana Flores's family.
And for the record, Your Honor, I'd like to tell Mr. Aceves something. And that includes your family, your mom, your dad, any family members or friends, okay? They cannot contact her at all, okay?
All right. And then I'll put in here, there's to be no contact with elementary, preschool, junior high, high school. I think they now call it middle school. If he decides that he wants to maybe get his GED or get a college degree, we'll cross that bridge when we come to it. But for now, there's to be no contact with any schools.
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So from here on out, everything that you do, you're looking at potentially going to prison for 10 years. Do you understand?
Yes, Your Honor.
And I hope that you're going to be thinking about what brought you here. Okay. And it is never funny or a joke to ever talk about harming anyone. You understand? That's not funny.
Sí, mi jugador, en verdad, antes no lo pensaba así, No, sí se lo tomaba de una broma, pero cuando estuve 16 meses, sí, sí,
Yes, Your Honor. Before I did think it was a joke, but since I've been, for 16 months, I've
Okay.
been,
pensando en las vidas humanas y
thinking about human life,
perdonar este.
and I'm sorry.
All right, thank you. Thank you both.
Okay.
Hey, it's always good seeing you.
Good seeing you, Your Honor.
Hello. Thanks for dressing appropriately for court, but you always do. So how's life treating you?
Pretty good, pretty good. Thankfully, I haven't given a job, being occupied, same with my family, that someone's going to
Okay, awesome.
job.
Well, is there anything you need from the court?
Can I tell him to something to my attorney?
Sure.
En el futuro. Yeah, yes. He's wondering if it's possible that he could get permission from the court to go to Mexico at one point or another in the future.
Oh, to go where?
Mexico to visit family and stuff.
Oh, I'm sure that'll be fine if everything is working well with him. I don't think probation or the state will have any objections to that.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
just let the court know.
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So probation, how's everything going?
Judge, based on the report that was received from him, his CSO, he's been doing very, very well. They've not had any concerns. Nothing is going on. I mean, he reports on time, he's doing his drug tests on time, the field visits are going good. Like, they don't have any concerns at this point.
Yay.
He's listening to his lawyer
Oh, that is so awesome.
and to the court,
Yeah.
especially to the court.
So when does he think he wants to go to Mexico?
Your Honor, I think by the end of this year or January on the next year.
Okay. All right. If something changes, just let the court know and we can come in. All right. So when do you, yes.
Judge, I do believe Mr. Ross Evans is currently on field visits once a month.
Mhm.
I would ask at this point, we can see about dwindling those field visits once every 60 days or 90 days.
Okay, so we'll start with field visits once every 60 days. And then what I'll do is I'll bring us back here to see how you're doing. And then if he's still doing well, we can put it at 90 days. Then we'll bring it back and then it'll be at probation's discretion.
Yes, Judge.
So we're just doing things step by step so people don't get overwhelmed, okay?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right, so do you all want to come back at the end of August?
Yes, ma'am, that would be good.
All right, so we can do August 26.
That would be fine. Your Honor.
Okay. All right, so we'll be back on August 26th. Do you need a reset form?
I believe so, just because
Okay.
it's in August, please.
Okay.
I'm very proud of him, Your Honor. He's doing
Yes, I
everything
am
right.
too. He's doing excellent. I always get giddy when people are doing well because I want everyone to succeed.
I believed in him from day one. I just.
I know you did.
Something about him that I just, after many years of working this business, you can tell who's good.
Yes. All right.
Thank you, Your Honor. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Yeah.
May he be excused.
Oh, once he signs the
Let me give
reset
you-
form,
Yes.
then we are excused. Hello.
Your Honor.
Each day you come with a cleaner haircut. So how's everything going with you?
It's pretty good. Well, in my job, I got a raise 3 weeks ago and
Awesome.
I was able to pay off my car loan, and all that. As for now, I try to help my family pay off the debt so we can all be free of debt and we can start saving for the future.
Oh, that is so awesome. Vashawn, how's he doing?
Judge, there are no concerns on this end, everything, he's reporting as needed, everything. is good.
Okay, awesome. Do you need anything? Do you have any questions about anything?
No, no.
Okay, so let me see. All right. Ms. Abrams, I can have him come back to check in the week of December 16th or either after the 1st of the year. This is just so I can keep tabs and see what's going on in your life, okay?
Your Honor, if I may,
Mhm.
I have the whole month of December blocked off for vacation.
Okay, so we can do it January.
January the sixth,
All right.
if that's okay with the court.
January 6th. Are you good for January 6th?
Yes, sir.
All right, so Ms. Ferguson, if we can recall this for January 6th. 2025. All right, so as I've told you before, if there are any issues that come up, you can let your probation officer know. If you feel as they're not addressing it, you can always come back to court, okay? Keep up the good work and thank you for always dressing in appropriately for court. All right, and congratulations on your raise. All right, have a good one.
Thank you.
And Jenny, Ms. Ferguson will give you a reset form if he needs one.
Okay, thank you. Yes, ma'am.
You're welcome.